Hi, boys and girls. I'm super excited to see you again. I hope that you are still doing well and continuing to wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands, and get all the hugs you can from your family. I am here inside my house. Like I told you yesterday, we're all staying here and staying healthy, and I hope that you and your family are doing the same. Today I picked a book that I wanted to talk to you about a few months ago. Do you remember when we talked about Martin Luther King and we listened to some of one of his most famous speeches ever called the I Have a Dream speech? And when we talked about it, what it meant in the context of Martin Luther King having a dream, we talked about it being a little bit different than when you go to bed at night and have a dream when you're sleeping. We talked about him building dreams in his mind, which meant that he was hopeful for things to be a certain way in our country and in the world at that time. And that's what it meant for him to say, I have a dream. And so when I was thinking about what it means to have a dream that's different than the kind that you have when you go to bed and sleep at night, it reminded me of another book that's by that favorite author that I talked about yesterday, Patricia Polacco. And once again, her name is the only one here, so I'll just remind you because I can't hear your voices, but I know that what you're saying and thinking now is she is the author and the illustrator. She wrote the book and she did all of the pictures. The pictures in this book are incredibly beautiful and very, very colorful. There's a word to describe the color that we'll see in this book, and that word is vibrant. Vibrant to me just means like it's almost lit up like a light is, and the colors in this book are just like that. So pay attention to the vibrant colors in the book. She, again, author and illustrator. The author does what? Writes the words. The illustrator does what? Creates the pictures. Sometimes an illustrator paints the pictures. Sometimes an illustrator draws the pictures. Sometimes an illustrator actually creates the pictures on a computer. So there are all different ways that illustrators can illustrate books. Patricia Polacco is an artist in her own right, meaning that not only is she an incredible author, but she's also an amazing artist with her illustrations as well. And again, I would guess that the illustrations in this book are done with pencil drawings first, and then she paints in the vibrant colors that you'll see in the story. We do a lot of that type of artwork in our class. We do a lot of pencil drawings that we fill in with either pastels or tempera paint, which is the really brightly colored paint, or watercolor paints, which we can make darker or lighter depending on how much water we use. So even the most accomplished artists, the people who do it for a living and for books and things, do the same types of art that we do. So that's always an exciting thing that you can compare what we're doing to. Applemando's dreams. I want you to listen for what I was talking about with Martin Luther King and what it means to have a dream that is different than a dream that you just have when you go to sleep at night. Okay? Appelemando's dreams. Once there was a very drab village, so drab, in fact, that the road leading to it was overgrown from lack of visitors and interest. There wasn't much to do there, especially for a little boy named Appelemando, a boy who loved to dream. Now, before I keep reading, I want you to really look at that illustration, because rather than explain to you what the word drab means, if you look at that picture, you can see it. There's no color. Everything is gray or tan or white. There's just not vibrant color. So that's what the word drab means. Looking at that picture explains it better than I could with words. For him, dreams were magic chariots pulled through his mind by galloping hues of color. Remember that sentence. I'm going to read it again. For him, dreams were magic chariots pulled through his mind by galloping hues of color. For him, dreaming was a way of life. He dreamt so much of the time that the villagers began to talk. There goes that slow Appelemando, they called after him. He'll never amount to much. He never does anything useful. He dreams every day away. Appelemando had 4 good and true friends. Don't listen to them, Jeffto Fury said quietly. What do they know? Lark Apostinov snapped. Petra and Dorma Opatisho cooed. Besides, they don't know our secret, do they? It was certainly true. These 5 shared a very special secret indeed. There are the vibrant colors. Applemando's dreams. You see, whenever he daydreamed with his friends, they could actually see the dreams. Right out of the top of his head they drifted. They twisted through shafts of brilliant sunlight, floated up, up, up into the sunny sky. There was so much to look at. Animals, birds, flowers, all in wondrous, vibrant colors. Appelemando enjoyed dreaming, just for them. He did big dreams. He did tall dreams. He did little dreams. And he did middle dreams. One day, Lark announced, let's capture one of Appelemando's dreams on a piece of paper. Then we could look at it even when Appelemando isn't around. So the children tried and tried to get the dreams to stay, but each time the dreams drifted off and disappeared. Then Petra and Dorma covered a piece of paper with water from the well tub they'd been playing in. And at that very instant, a dream floated up from Appelemando's head, and Lark and Jeffto pushed the paper in front of it, and it held fast. When something holds fast, it means it sticks. So Appelemando's dreams stuck to that paper when it was wet. Hooray, they exclaimed for joy. Now we can keep his dreams forever. It wasn't long before they discovered that Appelemando's dreams would stay on anything that was moist or damp. Both of those words mean wet. Mops drying over balcony rails, laundry airing on clotheslines, bottoms of fat white ducks waddling up the street. Boy, Appelemando, Jeffto laughed. You better not ever dream on a rainy day. What a mess we'd have, Lark snickered. Lucky you only dream on sunny days. And then one day, when Appelemando had begun to dream, the sun suddenly hid behind gray storm clouds. The wind blustered, and the rain dropped from the clouds above them. Oh no, Lark squealed. What are we going to do? Appelemando, don't dream anymore, Jeffto ordered. You just can't, Petra and Dorma said as they were pelted with wet raindrops. Lark clapped Appelemando's hat tight onto his head, but it was no use. The dream had already drifted up and was floating toward the buildings of the town. The children gasped as they watched each and every scene hold fast to the walls and storefronts of the town. As soon as the rain stopped, the townsfolk came out of their houses and shops. They were stunned when they saw all of Appelemando's dreams on the walls. Someone has painted our houses and stores, a voice called out. Who did this? An angry woman cried. I'll find who's responsible for this prank, the mayor said as he saw the crowd begin to gather. And then his eyes fell on the children. They were covered with Appelemando's dreams. You, the mayor shouted as he started toward them. What have you children done? The children were taken to the elders of the village. Do you mean to tell us that all of those things on our walls are dreams? They asked when the children explained. The more the children tried to tell the villagers about Appelemando's wonderful dreams, the more suspicious the elders became. If what you say is true, let's see Appelemando dream right now, here, in this place, they ordered. The elders leaned forward in their seats and watched Appelemando. But the harder Appelemando tried to dream, the more impossible it became. Nothing at all would come into his mind. Jeffto, Lark, Petra, and Dorma all stared at the air above Appelemando's head, waiting and waiting and waiting, but nothing appeared. I knew they were lying, a villager whispered. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Such a ridiculous story, one of the elders said. Let them scrub the walls, a voice rang out. Fit punishment for painting our village without our permission. As the children walked toward home after the ordeal, they were afraid that Applemando's wonderful dreams would never happen again. They walked and worried. In their sadness, they didn't watch the path. When they looked up, they were in the middle of the forest. They had completely lost their way. As hours passed, the children's families became more and more alarmed. That word alarmed means afraid and scared and worried. They alerted all the people in the village, who sent out search parties to look for the children. Where could they be? They all pondered. Our people will never find us here, Petra and Dorma cried. They won't even know where to look, Jeffto said sadly. If only we could signal them somehow, Lark said thoughtfully. And then all of the children looked at Appelemando. You can help, Appelemando, Lark said. If you dream a dream big enough and bright enough, it'll rise above the trees. People in the village will see it, and then they will know we're here. Yeah, they all cheered. But Appelemando was quiet. I can't dream anymore, he cried. You have to, they all said. You must. All Appelemando could think of were the bitter words of the elders, the people who didn't believe him. And try as he might, nothing would appear in his mind. There was no dream. And then he looked into the eyes of his friends. In Lark's eyes, there was certainty. In Jeffto's, steady sureness. In Petra's and Dorma's, complete expectation, for they loved his dreams. So every one of his friends completely, with all of their hearts, believed that he was going to be able to dream a dream when they needed it most. So then he closed his eyes and he began to see. Bright colors of every hue and shape and texture floated from the top of Appelemando's head, and they twisted through the air, and the wind caught them and lifted them high above the trees. That dream says, in super vibrant colors, help us. Sure enough, the villagers saw the dream just above the forest where the children were. They all followed this vision, and when they found the children, they wept for joy. Never again would they question the importance of dreams. Oops. Now, the village is no longer a drab place. The path leading to it's bustling with visitors drawn by rich colors and soaring images that have covered the walls of the town for years. Colorful scenes that its townfolk are very proud of indeed. It's a dreamy place, a wonderful place. An old man sits by the fountain in the square, an old man who loves to dream. For him, dreams are magic chariots, pulled through his mind by galloping hues of color. For him, dreaming is a way of life. And that's the end of the story. But in the last few sentences, do you remember anything that I told you to think about at the very beginning of the story? Who do you think that really old man is who sits by the fountain and dreams? So I want you to think about that and look at the last picture. So boys and girls, thanks so much for listening. I can't wait to read to you again tomorrow. And until then, I want you to think about what you can do to create vibrant colors in your families and in your homes. Maybe you can do an art project with lots of different colors, crayons, markers, even pencils. If you can put the pencils on the paper and you don't have a lot of color, not a lot of paint or crayons or anything like that in your house, just do your best. Put the color in your imagination and do what you can. And take care of each other. Wash your hands a lot. Hug your families, and I'll see you tomorrow.